So I also did an investigation of the price of the hotels in Georgetown. That is the price of constructing the Marriott Hotel in Kingston. The Marriott, like I said, is being sold for $85 million, but the price of constructing the Pegasus Suites and Corporate Center, that one, it turned out, is about $100 million as well. So the extension to the old Pegasus, the new Pegasus Suites and Corporate Center, add about 150 rooms to the Pegasus, and turns out that the construction cost was probably somewhere around $100 million US dollars. Of course, Robert Badal and his group of investors were able to fund the construction of the Pegasus Suites and Corporate Center, so that was private funding, and they're probably going to get their return on investment over the next decade or so. But the reason why the price, the hotel is so expensive is, of course, because a lot of labor is still imported, and I think during the pandemic the price of steel went up. Although Robert Badal and his group started constructing that hotel before the pandemic, so they were able to probably get the lower price on things like construction materials and steel and so on. These new hotels that are being built are going to face the full price of the cost of steel and so on. So the problem is that the hotel prices construction is probably going to keep going up, and hopefully we will get a completion of at least 7 new hotels by the time this period of construction is completed, and you'll probably be able to get a hotel room at that time for about what you would pay in Trinidad or Barbados for similar brand hotels. Here we're heading towards the tarmac. We're going to take a look at this aircraft there's an aircraft now taking off. I think it's landing. An American Airlines jet is just arriving and probably will pull up to the terminal in a few minutes, but that's an American Airlines jet. Oh, it's a Caribbean Airlines jet just landing and heading towards the terminal. That was a Caribbean Airlines jet just landing and heading towards the terminal. I think an American Airlines jet arrived afterwards. But yeah, like I was saying, the cost of construction of these hotels is probably going to be affected by the rising price of steel and so on. And I investigated the cost. As you know, in the newspapers, they published that the Aden by Best Western would cost about $15 million to construct. But if you actually did a search on the internet for the cost of construction of the Aden by Best Western, it turns out that the cost actually amounts to around $50 million. So the cost of construction of the new Aden by Best Western, after it's furnished and completed and so on, that one works out to be about $50 million US dollars. Of course, now it's completed and open, they can start recouping the cost, but usually during the period of construction you have to add the cost of interest on the loans, you have to add the cost of construction materials, which keeps changing even during the period of construction, and so on. So yeah, these hotels cost between $50 million and $100 million to build, and there are about seven of them under construction, which will bring the total to 10 new hotels by the time this construction period is over. Now this is the jetway. We're looking at the western end of the airport. This jetway was built about 2 or 3 years ago. It's been completed now and it's now fully operational. So these facilities, the new jetway facilities, are already in use, completed and operational. There you can see the tail of the American Airlines jet that is already at the terminal. I think that one is about to take off. It's probably going to leave at 5 this afternoon, and the Caribbean Airlines jet that just arrived, just landed, is probably going to taxi up to the terminal building in a few minutes. But this is the western end. You can see that is the new jetway that takes you, the bridges that connect you to the aircrafts, provides us a number of new connections. This is looking back at the Marriott, the courtyard by Marriott. Now we're looking at the north end of the building. And once they take down this fence, I suppose in the next 3 months, sometime in the first quarter of next year, you'll be able to see the full extent of this structure and all its magnificence and all its glory. But right now the hotel is about 3 months away, I don't know, maybe more, from completion. If you think it's probably going to take longer, in fact, in the comments below, tell me what you think the construction schedule is like for this hotel, whether you think it's going to be completed, because right now I think it's beyond completion date. This hotel was supposed to be completed in 2023, and we're now at the end of 2024, so they're about a year already behind schedule. But tell me what you think in the comments below. What do you think? When do you think this hotel is going to be completed? Do you think it's going to be ready for operation? When it's going to be opening day? Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think that day will be. As you can see, they started painting the northern end, the building. The final colors, based on the poster that was put up initially, I think was beige and gray, like a blue-gray color. And that beige color looks like one of the final colors in the picture that they first published on the billboard, right, the poster. But this is the northern end of the courtyard by Marriott, and when it's completed, it's going to add 150 rooms of hotel rooms to the pool of hotels in Guyana. And like I said, there are a number of other hotels being built. There's Pasha Global 5-star Hotel and Resort. That one is also estimated to cost about 100 million US dollars. And it'll add another 150 rooms. There is the Sheraton, 4 Points by Sheraton in Houston. Right, this is also the Houston area is going to add 150 rooms, and that is also expected to cost about 100 million, between 50 and 100 million dollars to build. That's a tower, the control tower here at Tenerife Airport. I don't know if there are any plans to renew, to refurbish, maybe to rebuild this control tower, but these control towers now, control towers are now being built with really unique architecture, and hopefully we'll see, once they decide to build a new airport terminal and modernize this airport, maybe they'll see a new control tower. This was one of the first aircrafts from the Guyana Airways Corporation. Remember, the Guyana once had an airline. This is one of the aircrafts I remember riding in, the Guyana Airways aircraft in the 1970s, I believe. One of my first trips outside Guyana to Trinidad was in one of these turbopropeller aircrafts, a turboprop. And so this was what Guyana Airways aircraft from the 1970s and 1980s until the time it went out of business, which is reminiscent of the history of aircraft here in Guyana. I remember, yes, climbing on board of one of these aircrafts way back in my preteen years. I was about 8 years old when I first started traveling internationally. So this hopefully will come back again. The problem, of course, with the rebuilding in the aircraft industry in Guyana is because that we don't have our own refinery. I think I've addressed that in previous videos, that before it makes sense to build an aircraft industry, that is airline industry in Guyana, we have to have a reliable source of fuel, and the only way to compete is to either own your own refinery or have investment in a refinery, right? Airlines like Delta Airways and American Airlines, they actually own a portion of the refinery in New Jersey, and that guarantees the price of fuel throughout the year. And you can't really compete in the airline industry if you don't have Guyanese, if you don't have guaranteed fuel prices, if we don't have Guyanese owned oil refineries. I remember attending some of the meetings on the decision to build oil refineries in Guyana when ExxonMobil was advising the Guyana government against oil refineries. I thought it was pretty short-sighted, because if you are going to have a viable and competitive airline industry in Guyana, and because we are located in South America at this particularly advantageous point on the continent to have a hub here, you have to have refining capacity. We don't have to build our own refineries, but we do need to own refineries. If we can buy a refinery, perhaps in St. Croix or the British Virgin Islands or wherever there are refineries, we can buy one of those refineries and operate it, or we can invest in ownership in part of the refinery system around the world. Here is where the visit of the Indian Prime Minister comes in, right? I'm going to talk in the next 2 videos about the visit of Narendra Modi to Guyana in the last week or so, and that's a strategic alliance that Guyana has to maintain, particularly because India has refineries, oil refineries. But I'm going to talk about that in a future video, right? What is the value of a strategic alliance between Guyana and India? And right now it's looking like oil refineries are perhaps the most important investment partnership that India can provide with Guyana. If we can get access to oil refineries, and we can do so by investing in Indian refineries, then that would guarantee us the price of oil. We can refine our own oil which we produce, and we can guarantee the price of jet fuel, and that would mean we can operate a stable airline industry. But that's the consideration. Like I said, I'm working on starting my own airline industry, so these are the considerations that I have to work on, I have to thinking about as part of the process of planning for building an airline. But here we are.